I watched Imprint, and it ruined me.
And I watched Enola Holmes.
I don't want to see an ordinary film. I want to see something extraordinary.
Your sacrifice completes my sanctuary of 1,000 testicles.
You ever feel as if your mind had started to erode?
Welcome to 1000 Wives of Weird, the podcast where we discuss everything weird, but mostly just movies and episodes of TV shows, I guess. My name is Billy Martel, and with me, as always, is my co-host,
Brad Heffner.
And today we are talking about an episode of the short-lived anthology horror series, Masters of Horror.
It went 2 seasons, 24, 26 episodes?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it lived its life.
It lived its life. It lived out its usefulness. Actually, it definitely outlived its usefulness.
Yeah.
Yeah, an episode of Masters of Horror, directed by famed Japanese director Takashi Miike. Imprint. This was a last-minute replacement.
Yes,
for a subject. We were originally going to talk about a 1930s movie called Maniac, and I just happened to watch this because I've been working my way through Masters of Horror very slowly, and I happened to see this over the weekend a while ago, and it just traumatized me.
Yeah. You messaged me.
Yeah,
and you were very upset.
I was very upset. I was beside myself. I made the mistake because I was like, ooh, this will be fun. This guy's supposed to direct movies that are really gross. And in my hubris, I was like, gross? I know how to deal with that. I've seen Violence Voyager. And so I turn on... I turn on the episode. I have all the lights off. And I'm watching it all by myself. And it fucked me up.
Yeah. Now, I had seen this previously. I'd gone through Masters of Horror way back when.
Yeah.
And apparently it had no effect on me at the time. Because I was like, when you told me, I was like, yeah, I remember it being something.
Well, yeah, again...
all I could remember, and this ended up being a false memory, was just like, there's something to do with nipple torture. Some nipples got tortured. And it was like, and that's not in there.
Which, given this director's work and what I understand of his sort of legacy, nipple torture not outside of the realm of possibility.
It happens in Ichi the Killer.
It does, okay.
One of his over 100 films.
Oh, really?
He's, some of his most famous stuff is... His most famous is probably Audition.
That's the one I've heard about the
most.
Which
I have not seen.
Okay.
That's a pretty big blind spot for me.
Sure.
A film we'll probably talk about at some point, Gozu.
Okay.
And a great samurai action movie, 13 Assassins.
Ooh, sounds awesome.
Which has CGI blood, but other than that, it's one of those, it's sort of like Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven sort of thing, where it's like, first half is all that build-up, and then the last half is just a gigantic battle.
Great.
It's fucking amazing. And the Phoenix Wright movie. Here's how Takashi Miike has directed over 100 films.
Okay.
He just says yes to anything.
He just says yes to anything.
He does his own stuff, obviously.
Right.
But if you come to him and it's like, hey, this is chicken noodle soup. Make a movie. Here's $1 million yen.
Right.
Which is probably not that much for Takashi Miike.
I don't know.
It's about $10,000.
Oh, okay.
So very extremely
low budget.
You would probably say
for
this fucking
chicken noodle movie.
I mean, just for his pay.
Okay.
But that still seems very low.
That seems extremely low.
Hopefully you would say, just get the fuck out of here with your goddamn soup.
I hope he has enough judgment for that.
But again, maybe it's just like...
Maybe he just likes making movies.
I'm sure he does.
Like Nicolas Cage in that old College Humor sketch. I like making movies, Gary.
If he fucking hated it, he wouldn't have done it over 100 times.
He's like, oh God, this again.
Motherfucker.
Oh, I gotta turn on the cameras.
It's like it's an ancient curse. I have to make movies.
Fuck, I made Imprint and they're still making me make movies. Imprint, by the way, not something that only fucked with me. This was the last episode of the season of Masters of Horror.
Of the first season.
Mick Garris, the creator of Masters of Horror, and probably the least talented person associated with it.
What is Mick Garris known for?
Some Stephen King miniseries.
Oh,
and he's a big fan of other horror people.
Okay.
He also made the show Masters of Science Fiction, which had no Masters of Science Fiction involved with it.
It didn't have Ray Bradbury, Grandmaster of Science Fiction?
It did not have Ray Bradbury, Grandmaster of Science Fiction, no.
Billy, imagine for a moment, what if jack-o'-lanterns had bodies?
Or my favorite Ray Bradbury story, the day where an old man's dick stands up for the first time in years and he invites all of his friends to come over and look at it.
Oh, yeah?
That's a real story that he wrote.
Now, see, when Ham did that in the Bible, that didn't go so well.
It didn't go so well for Ham?
No.
Ah, well.
He got cast out. That was Ham, right?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
You're the Christian.
I am the Christian, so there's really no excuse. But no,
Do you
I
know
don't
if the
remember.
food was named after Ham? Was he the first one to kill a pig?
Well, was Ham Jewish? Was Ham one of the Jews? So I think.
This was before Abraham.
Yeah, he's an
so-
Old Testament character, so I think he was one of the Jews, and so that would. But it might have been before the Ten Commandments, so they might not have had that rule about Ham yet. So
Gotcha.
that would have been super ironic, though, if Ham was named after a Jewish guy.
Yeah, I guess I would see it as just another wonderful contribution the Jewish people have made to history and science and food.
Here, we made this salty meat that we can't eat. Have at it. The rest of people.
Put a pineapple on top.
Put a pineapple on it and give it to the Italians. See what they do with it.
And Ham's people at weddings, they crushed a pineapple instead of a glass. And then put that on the pig.
The Ham's people had very strong feet.
Yeah.
Very strong legs. So, yeah.
They constantly wore those, moonbound shoes. That's another reason he was cast out. He looked at Noah's dick, and everyone, all Ham's, family was just, bouncing around, scared.
Oh, my God. Now I remember the story. Okay. But anyway, Mick Garris asked Takashi Miike to come over and do this episode because he had seen some of his other stuff, and he thought he was a real punk filmmaker, someone who was really driving people and critics up the wall with how terrifying and gross his shit was. He thought he was a real
master of horror.
A real master of horror. And so he said, hey, make an episode, and Takashi Miike was like, sure, I like making movies. And he made this thing, and he showed it to Mick Garris, and Mick Garris was like, oh, we got to edit this down. Holy shit. And they edited it down a little bit, and then they showed it to Showtime, and Showtime was like, no, absolutely not. And it was never aired in America. It was released on the DVD, and the UK took one look at it and said, hey, it's not the Ninja Turtles, and aired it anyway. But America has never seen fit to air this episode.
Which as someone who has made things that other people have not reacted well to, I can only imagine Takashi Miike, showing it to Mick Garris, obviously, yeah, this is pretty great, isn't it? And Mick Garris was like, what the fuck did you do? And then, Mick Garris started sweating bullets, but
right.
Mickey's still just this is fucking, we're taking it to Showtime, baby! And Mick Garris is like, I'm sorry about this. And Showtime's just like, what the fuck did you do?
Takashi Miike is quoted as saying that he studied American television in preparation for making this and said, I thought that I had gone right up to the limit of what they would allow, and apparently I miscalculated.
Which is I don't know who that says more about, Miike or America.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know
some
what
of the things we're about to talk about
oh my God,
are heinous. Now,
we talk about movies that the reason why this was such a last minute replacement is not just that it traumatized me, but we talk about one of the things that this show is about is tentpole weird things that move the goalposts for what you are able to accept when you're watching something. And this was the first time during this thing where a movie not assigned to me by the podcast had moved that goalpost for me. Meet the Hollowheads moved the goalpost for me, but in a very different way than this did. This one, like, I'm not the same person that I was the last time we sat down to record.
Because one of the big sequences in Imprint is this very long torture sequence.
Jesus Christ.
That's a little bit of a spoiler. We'll get into more
later.
We'll
get into it, yeah.
But I also probably is fair warning.
Yeah, okay, yeah, actually, we should give a, like, kind of a trigger warning for some absolutely heinous shit.
Yeah.
When we get down to the plot description part of this episode.
Yeah. So you had never seen, like, a torture sequence like that?
No, the closest I can think, no, I can't think of anything close.
You never watched any, like, The Hostels or...
I've seen clips of Hostel, and the only thing that I remember from it is that clip where the guy's ankles had been sawed through, and he tried to get up and fell over.
Yeah.
But, like, I just looked at that and I was like, this looks like a terrible movie, and also it's gross, I'm not going to watch this. The closest... You're going to laugh at me. The closest thing that came to generating this kind of feeling of upset with me, the last film that gave me this kind of feeling was Jeepers Creepers.
Okay.
And the main reason that one did is because it's not that great of a movie.
No.
But the scares and the things that happen because it's not that great of a movie without any kind of reason or logic. So I never knew what was going to come at me next. And after the scene in the cave with all the bodies everywhere, anything could happen in that movie.
Yeah.
So I was on edge for most of that film. And then afterwards I decided I never wanted to watch that movie again. Because, like, once you get through it and you look back on the film, you were like, nothing happened. Okay. I'm never watching that shit again.
Yeah.
But this one was... every torture scene that I've ever seen, like, I've only seen clips of the Saw movies and stuff like that. But even in the Saw movies, either the gore looks so fake that it's not even a deal. Like, especially in Saw 7, where all the blood is pink for some reason. Everyone bleeds Pepto-Bismol.
Really?
Yeah. Or that's a 3D one. So they really went all out.
That's a style choice in the visual novel series Danganronpa as well.
I don't think it was a choice in Saw 7.
Oh.
I think it was a mistake.
Gotcha.
But even in those movies that either look so fake or they cut away at just the right moment, this... And especially, like, the movie that...
Are you okay? Your voice is breaking a little.
I burped a little bit there, sorry. No,
it wasn't emotion.
It wasn't emotion, no. But this movie just holds on it. And just makes you look.
Yes.
And I almost started describing it again. We have to wait for the spoiler section.
The basic plot of Imprint is a man named Christopher, played by Billy Drago.
I never caught his name. I just was calling him Billy Drago. Because he plays it as Billy Drago.
See, I've seen Billy Drago apparently in the movie Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
But other than that, I am not familiar
with him. I've only seen him in the movie Well, I've seen him in a couple places, but I'm most familiar with the movie The Untouchables.
Yeah, I heard he's a big part of that.
He plays a psycho killer very loosely based on a real guy in the movie, and he is great.
Yeah.
Giving the exact same performance that he gives in Imprint.
Well, that is entertaining as shit.
Billy Drago is a very one-note actor, and his note is, I'm Billy Drago, I'm gonna fall on things, and just sort of like, I'm like Johnny Depp mixed with the real Keith Richards, and my face looks like it was drawn for the Men in Black cartoon.
I loved it. I loved it so much. It wasn't good.
No, it's terrible.
But it was entertaining.
Oh yeah, it's like watching a Christopher Walken movie now. You know what you're getting into.
But a man named Christopher is in Japan, and he goes to a brothel seeking his fiancée.
Sure.
Komomo. He is told that she's dead.
Yes.
And he is attended to by another prostitute or geisha. I'm not sure if she's officially a geisha or...
definitely a prostitute, but they make up the prostitutes to look like geishas. This is... definitely after, or not after the era of the geishas, but these are definitely not official geishas from all I know about geisha culture.
I know very little. I just know that this movie is in the Meiji period. He's attended to by another prostitute who is nameless.
Yes.
With a deformed face.
She is credited as woman, I believe.
She's credited as woman.
Yes.
Which is... I think if I were a woman, I would aspire to play a role like that.
A role named woman?
Yeah.
I am all women.
I am the archetypical woman.
Yes. And she is somewhat disfigured.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Christopher demands to know what happened. He needs to know what happened.
Yes.
And she tells him several times with differing results what happened.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a Rashomon thing.
That is the one thing I saw pull up in review after review, people comparing this to Rashomon.
Yeah.
Which I have not seen.
I've not seen it either, but I know the conceit.
Yeah, I know the conceit. The only thing I know about Rashomon is the one Simpsons joke. Have you heard that?
Yes.
Where it's like, you loved Rashomon. That's not how I remember it. Which is...
Yeah. Billy.
Yeah.
Would you recommend Imprint?
I'm having such a hard time with this question. I've been struggling with this question. Been a week since I first saw it. I rewatched it last night. And unfortunately, I think I have to say yes. I think I hate this. I hate this episode. I hate this movie. It's not bad. That's the problem. It's very, very well made.
Oh, yeah.
It's so well made. It's not, in my opinion, a good story in this traditional way that I prefer my horror movies. And I think that a lot of why this scared me as much as it did is similar to the way that Jeepers Creepers scared me. Takashi Miike, when he made this, said that he wanted to make the film equivalent of, and he used a lot of cultural reference points that I'm not familiar with, but what I understand is a campfire story. He wanted to make a campfire horror story. He wanted a story that would work if someone were telling it to their friend after seeing the episode. Because of this, the episode is based around scary things happening. There is no actual internal logic, as far as I can see, to why things are happening in the episode. There are character motivations, sure, but in terms of, like, the mythology of what's happening, like, if I'm watching a vampire movie, even Martin, there are certain rules about how the character is going to act, what they have to do, when they have to do it, how you kill the guy, you have to use the gold to kill the Cybermen, you know, all that sort of thing. In this movie, there's nothing like that. And it's not even like another episode of Masters of Horror, Deer Woman, where that's sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke that there's no rules to the Deer Woman.
Yeah.
In this, there are just no rules. Shit just happens, and you just kind of have to deal with that. And every kind of human horror and depravity is thrown at the wall to see what sticks. And that scares the shit out of me. But it is extremely well done.
Yeah.
And because of that, and the fact that this is about expanding your horizons and seeing shit that you're uncomfortable with, I kind of have to recommend it. With a strong asterisk that I am never watching this shit again.
That's fine. But the thing is...
Yeah.
The next time you see something...
Yeah.
It's gonna... You're number now.
My life is different now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not the same person I was.
Yeah, you've crossed a line for yourself.
Yeah.
And now... It's just...
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
Just the look on your face.
This is one of the moments I wish this was like we had a set or something, so you could just see like the 1,000-yard
Billy
stare,
is, head in hand, just sort of a hangdog face.
Just oh man, I'm. So let just as the last part of my thing, I saved this episode of the show was recommended to me by my friend Steven, who we've mentioned a couple of times in the show. He is not, I wouldn't say that he described himself as a Takashi Miike fan, but he is interested in Takashi Miike's work, according to him, because he admires him for the audacity of his vision. which I can't say he's wrong. He's certainly got audacity. So he recommended this episode to me, and then I watched it, and I live Facebook messaged him the entire time I was watching it. So this is the plot description as described by Billy at 2 a.m. watching this episode. Well, that became super upsetting incredibly fast. Jesus Christ. Wait, what? The fup sound effect is hilarious. Oh, this makes me very sad and upset. Holy fucking duck balls. I'm extremely confused now. What the hell was that? And that is the plot description.
You are remarkably restrained for how I imagine like you, especially because I was trying to like piece it together where I was like, wonder what matched up with what parts.
Yes.
And I just expected more towards the end there.
Yeah.
In the river.
I was, at that point, my phone had dropped from my hand, and I was staring open-mouthed.
Gotcha.
Like...
So I have a question.
Yeah.
This movie didn't just repulse you, it actually frightened you? You were actually scared?
Yeah. I would say so. And it's not that I was like, it's not the kind of scare that I usually get when I watch horror movies. Like if I can put aside my disbelief,
suspension of disbelief.
Thank you. If I suspend my disbelief enough and I watch a movie where like, oh no, the monster came out, ooh, like that kind of scared, the fun scared.
Yeah.
And then there was this where I was just watching and I was like, this happens to real people.
Yeah.
Because like aside from some minor supernatural elements at the very end, almost everything that happens in this film happened to real people, and it probably all happened to one person, like in history. Like this is some Marquis de Sade bullshit in this thing. So yeah, it made me very upset, and I think in a way that the director did intend. So good for him. But yeah, it unnerved me, and I think that counts in a way as being scared. Okay. Yeah.
I as we've sort of discussed before, I don't really get scared much anymore, and that's more of like I'm on medicine. Right. Just like I'm so numb.
Yeah.
It's more like I used to get real scared when my paranoia was off the charts.
Right, of course.
But now not so much. Now that's
why every October you go off all the meds.
Exactly. I'm like, it's Shocktober, baby.
That's right. You're a wild man.
I fucking go hard for Halloween.
But yeah. So what would you say, Brad, about this movie?
I would absolutely recommend it, with the caveat that there is torture. It's a rough chuckle. Even aside from the torture, there's some, as we said, real heinous shit. So, if you're unsure, just don't watch it. Yeah. But this is a fucking incredibly made thing, especially compared to other Masters of Horror episodes.
We should say, I don't know that we've mentioned it yet, Masters of Horror is crap.
Yeah, it's not a good anthology program.
It's ironically one of the most consistent anthology programs, because anthologies are usually all over the map in terms of quality.
And this is mostly just bad.
This is just very bad. It's like the whole way through.
The episodes of Masters of Horror that I would recommend
can be counted on one hand.
Yes. Aside from Imprint, are Cigarette Burns, which we will be covering next week.
Can't wait for that.
And Dear Woman.
Yes.
And the Season 2 episode, Screwfly Solution.
Sure. I would add to that Dreams in the Witch House, as a huge
Stuart
Gordon fan. That's up there for me. I weekly recommend Fair-Haired Child because it has some performances that I like, and it's a fairly basic horror setup. It's kind of hard to fuck it up. And the very first episode, not because of the plot, but because of a performance from the old man from the Phantasm movies, gives a comedic performance as a crazy old man locked in the basement in that episode. And it's pretty great to watch, because that guy is just entertaining as hell.
I'll have to rewatch that.
Yeah.
I'd also give a week recommend for Sick Girl.
I don't know is that season 2?
That's season 1.
Oh.
Lucky McKee's episode with Angela Bettis. I think that's her name.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one yet.
The insects has to do with bugs.
Yeah, I think I skipped from Cigarette Burns right to the last episode and watched Imprint.
Gotcha.
Because the amount of episodes it took me to get to Cigarette Burns, I was done. So I was going to watch the last episode that had been recommended to me by anybody, Imprint, and then I was going to probably toss the whole thing. But, yeah, so I watched Imprint, and here we are. But seriously, though, even before we get to the next episode, already recommended for Cigarette Burns. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Great episode.
And I just figured we'd do that, even though it's not particularly... Yeah, I'd say it's weird. It has weird elements.
But, like, it's not...
It's mostly just like a straightforward horror tale with a little bit of a... with a little twisties in it.
Little twisties.
But it's thematically resonant with the show.
It's weird. It's very thematically resonant with this show. And also, it's weird because it's a good Masters of Horror episode.
True.
Yeah.
That was my justification for doing John Wick 2 in the first iteration of this. It's a fucking amazing action movie that looks great.
John Wick 2 is legitimately weird.
Oh, yeah, no, it's this weird opera action movie.
It's not at all as weird as Imprint or fucking Meet the Hollowheads or most of the stuff we cover on the show, but it is super weird. Yeah. Also recommended John Wick Chapter 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so especially compared to all the other Masters of Horror episodes, I was immediately like, wow, this looks great. This looks great.
The visuals in this episode, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just right off the bat and just the shot composition, it's like, this is truly a dude who has made fucking 80 goddamn movies.
Yeah.
90 goddamn movies. However many at the time, who's like, yeah, just let's do this. I know how to make it look good. I know how to set things up.
No, it legitimately... there's a lot of Masters of Horror that, especially regarding the level of talent that was involved in Masters of Horror, looks shockingly amateur.
Yeah.
But this looks cinematic right out of the gate.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And every single fucking scene until the end, and I just realized that, but everything has an unreal element to it. There's something that makes it nightmarish, something that makes it dreamlike. Everything, there's not a scene that has something that's not just a little bit off, at the very least.
This is Takashi Miike. You feel yourself... This is what every Masters of Horror episode should have been, in my opinion, is that you feel yourself being taken by the hand by Takashi Miike and brought through what is essentially his House of Horrors. Mm. That's, like you said, every frame of the movie has something bizarre to it, something horrible.
Yeah.
And it's literally being brought through a House of Horrors is like, and here the zombie pops up, and here this thing happens, and look, children, scabs. And so, right. I gotta pull up my notes.
That's all right.
Floundering.
Well, I'll just finish up my recommendation. And that it's wonderful to watch. I'm not a big torture dude. I'm not into it in movies. It doesn't really affect me. I watched Cannibal Ferox, and that was just fucking boring as shit. And it's just, I don't seek it out. We both enjoy gore.
Yes.
But we're not, torture guys.
I am not a torture guy. I'm not at all, but I
found that out hard.
I found that out today. But no, I love the horror genre because it's a growth off of the side of the fantasy genre and fairy tales and stories of good versus evil, which is my entire bag. So I love horror. This,
yeah, but it's so that didn't do a lot for me, but it didn't bother me too much. Mm-hmm. So, but again, there's heinous stuff aside from the torture. If you are wary at all, don't watch it.
Yeah.
If you think you can handle it, it's a fucking good use of an hour.
Yeah, it's well made.
And now we will get into the spoilers, the in-depth plot summary. But before that...
Okay.
Billy...
Yes.
I have a new side hustle.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, make that money, I guess.
I started a brothel.
What?
Now, I'm not like regular men, Billy.
You're not like other guys.
I'm not like other guys. I like beautiful women.
Good for you. Good for you to
I'm
come out
part
and
of that
just say
1% of society.
1% of society.
Yeah, that loves beautiful women.
You're such a small aspect of society. They won't even include you in the LGBTQ lettering.
I'm like the Hell's Angels of sexuality.
Right? Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I started a brothel.
Okay.
And I figured we're very good friends.
Yeah.
You should support my business.
I'm married, dude.
I understand that. And you don't have to have sex with them. You can just talk to them.
Oh, okay. So it's just like a hotel. You're buying time in a.
You don't even take them to a restaurant.
Okay.
Take them to the opera.
Okay.
Just to support your friend.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I can justify that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring out 3 of my. I don't know. Is it offensive to call them products?
I think this entire segment is offensive, but go ahead.
I don't think it is. Sex work is real work. I support them, and I'm just a middleman.
Okay, so you're bringing out 3 of your employees.
Yes, 3 of my employees.
Right.
Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you up front.
Okay.
$6,000 an hour.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
But worth every penny. Okay, here's the first 3.
Okay.
A piping hot bowl of Campbell's chunky chicken noodle soup.
That's not a woman, Brad.
I mean, it's an employee.
$6,000 an hour?
Yes.
For a bowl of chunky chicken noodle soup?
Yes.
Okay, that's not that. Okay. Is it even alive?
I hope not. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty metaphysical question. Okay, behind door number 2,
Jump.
a 10-foot tall robot of Lola Bunny from Space Jam.
Hi, Robot Lola Bunny from Space Jam.
Take it to the hole and dominate.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's
Holy
what she would
shit.
say if she could talk, but now I'm going to turn her on. And she'll turn you on for $6,000 an hour.
Holy shit.
And behind door number 3, what Olympic gold medalist Usain Bolt?
I'm starting to doubt your claim at how much you love women. Because so far, we have a robot rabbit. We have...
She's a robot rabbit woman.
An Olympic running guy.
Yeah.
And a bowl of chunky chicken noodle soup.
Gender is a spectrum, Billy.
I understand that. I think your sexuality might be a little bit broader than you went on at first.
I'm just saying. Well, hold on. The statement that I love beautiful women and the statement that these are 3 of my employees who you're going to have sex with are not connected.
But you said that you established.
Listen, which one of these ones you want to have sex with? Which one of these ones you want?
Robot Lola Bunny, obviously.
Okay. All right, where are you?
Although I doubt she's going to fit in the opera.
Whoa. Then operas need to be more accommodating to tall people.
I agree.
At some point, the tallness becomes a physical disability.
She's a robot. That tallness was a choice on somebody's part.
And she can't duck through fucking doors, so you better be prepared to pay some damages, fella. Maybe take her on a picnic.
Is she insured?
I mean, she hasn't drank any today, but...
What?
Insure is also a drink.
Oh. Oh, boy.
All right.
All right.
Flash forward to the date.
Flash forward to the date.
Hello, Billy. Do you like basketball?
It's fine.
I played with Michael Jordan.
I know you didn't. Lola Bunny played with Michael Jordan.
I am Lola Bunny.
Oh. I thought you were just a robot duplicate of Lola Bunny.
I'm a robot.
Yes. You didn't know?
Oh my god, she exploded! She committed suicide.
Oh my god!
How many women have you done that to before, Billy?
I not that many as far as I'm aware.
Well, you killed one of my whores.
Well, that's where the insurance would have come in. Thankfully, she's a
well,
robot. You can
I chose to make
again.
a pun instead of getting insurance, so I guess that's on me.
Puns kill.
Yes.
Puns kill small businesses every day. If you want to support our initiative to end puns in the workplace...
To learn more about puns, visit your local library.
So this story is supposedly based on a story called Boki Kyoti, which Wikipedia says is a traditional Japanese story, but Amazon's trivia page references there being an author of the story who was alive at the time the episode was made and plays the lead torturer in the episode. So, traditional Japanese story, a novel, I don't know. I could not find any other information on the internet about it. I did try. The episode starts, obviously, with the Masters of Horror theme song, which, as bad as the show is, I really do like that theme song.
It's fine.
It's
The piece of music is nice. The visual, the opening, the sequence is whatever.
Yeah.
It's really bland.
It's very much a standard horror anthology opening sequence.
I wish they would have had a horror host.
Oh, that would have been fun.
It could have been an Irish man called Masters O' Horror.
That would have been great. I would have liked there to have been like a little introduction from the director of the week.
That would have been cool.
Having them like come in through a graveyard or some haunted house or something.
Or you could get some cartoon Dracula.
Sure, get a cartoon Dracula. Have him voiced by John Waters. John Waters is Dracula.
I wish I could do a John Waters impression.
Hi everyone, this is Masters of Horror. I hope you're all really wet today.
I hope your attempt to watch this wasn't aborted.
By the way, now that we're in the spoilers section, a more specific trigger warning for abortion.
Yeah.
Lots of it.
Lots of abortion. Lots of abortion. This is what conservatives think abortion is. There's so much abortion.
Yeah, this is a conservative's nightmare.
And more important, more than that, fetuses.
The only time I've seen this many fetuses is when I've gone... When I was a kid, I went to a Christian music festival.
Yeah.
And there was a booth.
They were tossing them out to the crowd.
No, there was a booth.
Firing them out of a t-shirt cannon.
No, there was a booth set up.
Fuck stem cells!
By very militant anti-abortion activists who had set up an entire booth full of these fake fetuses that they were handing out to people to say, this is what you're killing. You know, that sort of thing. And so, yeah. That moment and this are the only two times I've seen this many dead fetuses at the same time.
They were handing them out like they were giving people fetuses?
They were giving people fake fetuses.
Did you get one?
No, of course not.
Oh my god, that would have been so fucking cool.
That would have been cool in retrospect. At the time, I was creeped out and my parents were getting me out of there as fast as possible.
Gotcha.
They were like, ooh, look, good music over here. And we went and we listened to Petra for a while.
I need to look on eBay for those.
You need to look for some fake dead fetuses?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what, kids are getting with all the fucking Fortnites and Minecrafts. Kids are getting inured to terror.
Yeah.
So this is what you do. You make haunted house of just fetuses.
I mean, I'm sure if you went to...
Or maybe I'm making a Binding of Isaac movie.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
I know you didn't, but if anyone out there listens to this, they'll enjoy that.
I was going to say, go to the Death Stranding website. I'm sure they have merch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
These are not as cute as Bridge Baby, though.
Okay.
Bridge Baby's pretty adorable.
Cool. Okay, so this is based on some sort of traditional Japanese story. We open on a boat full of very, very dirty Japanese people. They're just covered in shit. They are in a little boat heading for this brothel that's on an island out in the middle of nowhere. And Billy Drago is there wearing a top hat and lounging around at his most Billy Drago-ness.
Looking like, and I'm going to make an assumption.
Okay.
Looking like a Tom Baker era Doctor Who villain.
I can see where you got that from, yeah. I can't think of any specific villain that would definitely be.
General vibe.
But just a general vibe, yeah. He definitely looks like he's on his way to a Doctor Who audition.
Yeah.
With a very specific vision of how his Doctor's going to look.
I mean, the quality of monster that we see at the end is about Doctor Who level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, that offended me more than the torture the abortion.
The effect at the end.
Fucking terrible, goofy monster.
Well, it is a monster from Japanese mythology.
True. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. But anyway, I know Billy Drago mostly from The Untouchables. They established that Billy is from America by having one of the characters ask him, "Don't all you Americans fuck horses? Why are you going to have sex with ladies?"
No, he said, "I heard all you Americans were hung like horses." I had the closed captioning on.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. Wow. That's
pays to listen, I guess.
Yeah, that's
I thought he said, "Don't you Americans fuck horses?" because they're all cowboys.
Wow, so you were... Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you were just thrown into this idea of horse fucking right away.
And immediately I was on board. So the first moment where I knew I was in over my head comes extremely quickly.
Yeah, this gets fucked up real fast.
Real fucking fast. They're in a boat, and they suddenly run into something. What could it be? Turns out, it's the bloated corpse of a pregnant woman. A very, very pregnant woman. Pale, bloated, obviously been in the water for a while, floating by. They just push it away with their oar.
Yep.
Complaining about it, and then they just go move on.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Drago takes off his hat. He's the only one who seems to give a shit. Everyone else is just like, what a piece of shit, getting in our way. And this corpse is a horror to look at.
Yeah, it's very pale. It's very...
Most of the time in American things, in horror movies where they have dead bodies in the water, the dead bodies stay mostly unaffected by the water.
I complained about that in Necronomicon.
Sure, yeah, exactly. The dead body, they might make them look a little bit pale.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the worst you get is from that scene in Lord of the Rings where there are all those dead people in the marshes, and all those, for Brad who has not seen Lord of the Rings, all those people look like more traditional zombies, where they're like more, like they're pale, but they're very thin and bony. This is the opposite. This is a very, I assume, realistic corpse. I haven't seen many people decompose in the water lately. But she's bloated. The water has absorbed into her skin. Again, she was ready to pop when she was killed.
Yes, very, very pregnant. Very
pregnant. And she's just floating there. And, immediately I was like, oh God, I've made a mistake. But it's too late. So let's just keep watching. One interesting thing I noticed, I don't know why I wrote this note down here, but throughout this episode, the main people who suffer, with maybe two exceptions, but the main people who suffer are women.
Yes.
And there was a review that I watched I did not watch, I read online very briefly when I was just alone in this hotel room trying to make sense of what I just seen. Someone said Takashi Miike has been accused of sexism throughout his entire career, and they said that they considered this episode the apex of his sexism. I didn't finish reading the review because I didn't really care what they thought of the episode. I just wanted to know more background about why it happened. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what their argument was about why it was sexist. What?
You were just searching for a reason about why it happened.
Yeah, I was looking for background. What the fuck is this?
What could compel a man to do such a thing?
What's wrong with you, Takashi Miike? But
Google, Alexa, why are there horrors?
Alexa, why can't I close my eyes? But yeah,
Alexa, why are we damned with knowledge? Why are we damned with the ability to conceive things?
Takashi Miike, Alexa.
Alexa, where is God? God is dead.
Thanks, Alexa.
That's what I thought.
Well, it has to be true. It came from Alexa. Anyway, so I'm not sure what the argument was of him being sexist, but there is a lot of women in pain in this.
Yes.
And I genuinely, again, this is the first Takashi Miike project I've ever seen. I do not have any kind of background in his other work. I know that Steven has told me previously that his other works contain even more fucked up shit than this, but I have no idea would you consider this to be a sexist piece, or would you consider this to be more like Blue Velvet, where sexist things happen in it, but it's not justifying them? It's just saying, hey, horrible shit happens to women. Be woke, y'all. Because my opinion tends to... Actually, you go first.
I could see Miike being misogynistic.
Sure. It is kind of a problem in Japanese culture.
The other problem is that, especially in torture stuff, women are usually the targets. At least from what I understand. And the little bit I've seen.
Yeah.
Generally, women are the targets. That's the genre. Whether that is a function of misogyny within the genre or within the creators, I don't fucking know.
Right.
But I can definitely see, based on what I've seen of Ichi the Killer, which I only got through like half of, and sort of...
Got tired of it.
I went in thinking it would be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go back knowing it's different, and I can probably enjoy it more that way.
Judge it on its own merits rather than your expectations.
Yeah, and just what I know of his other work, there's no misogyny in Phoenix Wright.
Good.
I can tell you that.
Okay, good.
So I don't know, but it's possible, and I could definitely see it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know. It seems to be the genre.
I think you're probably right. My takeaway from this was just, I think he was just trying to scare people, and he was just showing nasty shit, and the nasty shit is happening to women in the story. And again, it seems more like a sexist element of the torture porn genre.
I think it's also, for the genre, it's this idea that women are more vulnerable and more pure. So that
Which is a sexist idea.
Which is a sexist idea, but it's not coming from a place of like, yeah, let's hurt women. It's like, this is worse because it's happening to a woman.
Right. So, like, the movie The Room, obviously much worse movie than this, but there's a real sense in the making of that movie, not only when you look up the making, but just watching the movie, that Tommy Wiseau has a problem with women.
Yes.
I don't get that sense from this movie. I get a sense of, this is what's scary to people.
Yeah.
And so if there is sexism in this, it's my opinion at this time that it's accidental.
Okay.
But it's just something that I saw brought up, so I thought we would mention it.
Sure. It was something that I was thinking about while watching it, too, especially in the latter half.
Sure.
There's a lot of domestic abuse.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, but we can talk about that when we get there.
As they arrive, there's a song being sung in Japanese, which you think at first is non-diegetic, but it is actually occurring within the universe of the film, and it's being sung by a blind woman with Geordie LaForge eyes from Star Trek.
They're that milk white that always indicates blindness. And
yeah.
She's playing a shamisen.
Again, like, almost every frame of this has some element, whether it's necessary or not, meant to unsettle you.
Exactly, and this is where I first noticed that, because it's this fucking beautiful unreality. The blind shamisen player, her hair is this unnatural purple, her face is several shades darker than the rest of her body. It's sort of like a tan.
Yeah.
Kind of a light brown, and her blind gaze, and like you said, the milk white eyes, the irises.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the episode is literally functions as like a circus freak show.
And we're told that this island is a place where only demons and horrors reside.
Yes.
It seems to be,
which turns out to be literal later.
Yeah. Yeah. This seems to be, and that unreality, it's very dreamlike all throughout. And I fucking loved it so much.
Yeah. And I think that I can say categorically, Miike absolutely knocked it out of the park when it came to recreating the feeling of a campfire story.
Yeah.
This has the same kind of, like, sort of magical realism as the hook hand guy with the car story or something like that. Although a little bit more fucked up than that story. So Billy Drago comes in. You said his name was Christopher?
Mm-hmm.
All right, all my notes, he says, all my notes were written with his name as being Billy Drago, so I'm going to go back to Billy Drago a couple times.
And also, Billy Drago is just an awesome name.
Oh, yeah. No.
It's fucking incredible.
It should be the name of a villain in a kung fu movie or something.
Should be... There should be multiple Billy Dragos. There's like Billy Drago supervillain, Billy Drago Street Fighter, Billy Drago porn star, Billy Drago Space Adventurer.
Oh my god. I would absolutely fund an anthology series called The Adventures of Billy Drago, where every episode, the context around Billy Drago has changed. Now he's like a Flash Gordon type, and now he's... but he's still playing it like Billy Drago, so he's just like, I'm gonna defeat the Zoltan army from the planet Cubone, but first I gotta lie down.
God damn you, alien scum! God damn you!
Oh no, Butch Cassidy robbed the branch one more time. I'm gonna have to go and kill him. But so many things. Anyway, Billy Drago is a treasure.
I have a need for speed!
One episode is just like a sweet love story. There's just like nothing sinister or action-packed about it at all. It's just like a straight romantic drama starring Billy Drago.
Billy Drago, who should have played Tommy Wiseau in The Disaster Artist.
God! That would have been so much better.
Why so?
He would have just played as Billy Drago again.
And it would have worked perfectly. That's why he's so fucking entertaining.
I did not hit her. I did not. Is bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
Oh, hi, Mark.
If he ever did do a love story type movie, it would be the most sinister love story ever made.
Unfortunately, he's passed away.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he died in
that
2019.
Sucks. That's in 2019, so he just missed the great ride that 2020 has been.
When Billy Drago checked out, that's when we should have known.
Exactly. That's when we should have known. The prostitutes are kept in cages where they beg the passing Johns to pick them.
And they're sort of shot in like, it's a little bit slower. It's
a little bit of slow motion.
A little
although the sound is still going at regular speed.
Yes.
So you can understand what they're saying.
And it's part of the dreamlike quality. It's this unrealness.
Yeah, and they're not. It is important to say they're not shot sexually.
No,
they're not shot in a manner to titillate, which is one of the main problems with Masters of Horror. Is that way too many of the directors were horny when they were working the camera.
Yeah.
So they had to operate the cameras a little one-handed. This episode, the prostitutes are just framed as desperate prostitutes.
Yeah,
like they're just,
and mostly they're in robes, kimonos. I'm assuming.
Yeah. And they're not all horrors either. There's not like a horror element to each of their looks or anything. Although immediately after this scene, he is confronted by one of the people who runs a place, who's a little woman, little person woman with a bird skull on her head and a syphilis rotted away nose.
I believe it's a man.
Oh, is it a man?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was a woman.
And then the woman is the one with the ring.
I did know that there was the woman with the ring, but I thought that was also a woman. I guess it's a man, but yeah, nose is rotted away from syphilis, and also fucked up teeth.
Yeah, and speaks in sort of a high-pitched voice.
Yes.
And again, it's a shame that little people, dwarves, whatever you want to call them, are used as shorthand for strangeness and weirdness, a.k.a. Terry Gilliam.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
But again, it's
David Lynching, too.
David Lynching.
Yeah.
But here it's more of a Red Room quality, where it's not like... It's more this idea of... And maybe this is just insulting, but... Sort of like a fae folk aspect, where it's like...
Yeah, it's more like they're...
It's not weird because this is a human who looks different. It's weird because this is something from another plane.
Although the syphilitic nose is definitely this is weird because it looks different.
True.
Element.
But if you can recognize it as a syphilitic nose, then it's like, I don't know, it adds to...
Also, they're picking bits out of their nose while they're talking to Billy Drago, which is, awful.
But it's still just a wonderful little detail that adds to the nightmarish aspect.
Yeah, no, Takashi Miike has no shame. He will make you feel unsettled by hook or by crook. And if he has to parade blind people and little people in front of you to do it, he will do that. No shame involved.
Do you think that actress was actually blind?
Oh, I doubt it. I think those were probably contacts. But still, if I was a blind person, it would make me feel kind of shitty that I was being used as a freak show element.
And again, I can't speak for them, but
right,
it doesn't feel like...
It doesn't feel like, hey, look at the freak.
Yeah, it feels like...
Oh, that's
this
not what
is a place where
expecting.
things are out of the normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place where people like this belong, I guess.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's on Horde Demon Island.
Yeah.
But
or Demon Island. So, whenever something like this comes up...
I'm sorry. I was looking at my notes.
Okay.
And there's a note that just says, God damn. And I was like, well, what the fuck is that referring to? Because I don't take notes like that.
Yeah.
Then I realized it's God damn!
Little Billy Drago. But before we move on from this freak show commentary, there's something I always remember. It's from a movie. I have not seen the whole thing, but I saw a clip from it when I was researching the career of Peter Dinklage. It's a movie based on his own attempts at making it in Hollywood as a little person. Is that the correct term these days, little person? Or?
I'm not sure.
I have no idea. But as a little person, and he's doing this dream sequence in a movie where he's the little person in the dream sequence, and he gets mad and starts swearing at everybody as only Peter Dinklage can, and he's just it's like, oh look, a little person! I must be fucking dreaming! And I always think of that whenever this topic comes up.
Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, Billy is looking for this girl Komomo, who, as we talked about in the intro, he reveals in a little bit that he fell in love with her, and for some reason she was sold to this brothel.
He had to do something.
He was going to go to make his fortune, I think, is what he
would
says.
come back for her.
Yeah, but when he came back for her, she had been sold, so he's been tracking her down for all this time. He asks the little person if they've ever heard of her. No, never heard of anyone with that name, but you can't leave the island anyway, so why don't you stay? I'll give you a good price on a girl. And there's one girl who hasn't been grasping at the bars of the cage. There's one girl who's been sitting in the back, one woman, I should say, because that's what she's credited as, woman. One woman in the back who's just been sitting in profile.
It's a beautiful shot.
Oh, yeah.
So fucking good.
Yep.
It's
very art over logic, but that's this whole episode.
She's in silhouette against a red background. It's beautiful. So
he decides to go with her for essentially no other reason than the plot has to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says later it's because he was interested because she wasn't reaching out like all the rest.
Right. She stood out because she was a little bit different. So, yeah, Billy tells the audience his backstory. Throughout the episode, I don't know what it means, but we see a lot of images of pinwheels. And they're usually related to Komomo, but not always.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what that's about, but it's
I'm
there.
not sure.
It's an element they chose to include. That was a choice that someone made.
Well, at one point, when woman is recalling her true past,
yes,
or one of her pasts, wouldn't she plant a pinwheel every time they threw out a fetus?
I believe that is yeah. So maybe
it's just an association with death, or
maybe
the spirit.
Maybe so. If so, they really played the long game with that one. The woman comes in to Billy Drago's room, the area he's supposed to be sleeping in, and she comes in and tells him, I am yours tonight, you can do whatever you want with me. And it turns out, part of the reason she was sitting in that pose was because the other side of her face is disfigured.
And this is fucking great makeup.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I fucking love this so much.
The makeup and the effects in this episode are uniformly fantastic.
And it's, especially when she has on her white pancake makeup, it's so understated, but effective. Like, it's not a lot.
They went just far enough.
And later we see more of it with her without the makeup. It's a bit more.
Yeah.
But to start off, and they do an interesting thing where she's sitting in sort of 3/4 profile for most of this scene.
Yeah.
With her deformed side on the to the camera.
Right.
But there are a few strands of hair that are loose and obscuring it. So we're shown it, and then it's obscured. So in our minds, we're sort of like going like, I saw that, right? Like
right, yeah.
How like it was pretty gnarly, wasn't? And then we see it again. It's not as bad, but then.
And then it gets worse later.
It's very interesting choices. Other directors would just go like, "Bam! Look at this."
Yeah.
And that's sort of a more in line with the Masters of Horror ethos, where it's like,
This is
look at this! Look at this freak! Look at this freak!
Yeah, exactly. So he asks her why she was hiding and not asking for John's, and she says she hides because she's afraid of the lost souls, and then leaves that without actually explaining it.
Yeah.
And then points behind Billy Drago and says, "Look behind you!
There's one there!
There's one there!" Billy Drago looks, there's nothing there. He looks back at her. She laughs a little bit and then says, "I've always related more to dead people than living people, as if it's a new topic, and I am..." What?
Yeah.
What the fuck was that? That was like the campfire scene in Wild at Heart. Like, what the hell?
That's the sort of scintillating conversation I try to maintain with my employees at my brothel. I train them in the art of discourse like that.
The art of non sequitur.
The art of, like, just revealing super weird truths about yourself. I relate more to dead people. I think cars are sexy, and I mean, I'm sexually attracted to cars. Or another good icebreaker is, hey, I have a lot of latex gloves back at home.
I mean, does it work? Is it a good business model?
Well, I made $6,000 so far.
Was that just for my hour with Lola Bunny? With Robot Lola Bunny?
Yeah, which, by the way, you killed her. So...
She killed herself, excuse me.
True, but try proving it in court, asshole.
In court, she was a robot. She doesn't have personhood.
I'm suing you for damages.
You can't prove nothing. I didn't even touch her.
My robot was not aware she was a robot. She thought she was the real Lola Bunny.
Which is something you could have informed me of before going on a dinner date with her.
You could have asked.
I took her to Perkins.
I know, and she probably would have loved it if she could eat human food.
See, it's a good thing we didn't get to even the first course, because I didn't know she couldn't eat human food. You need to give me this shit.
Well, she doesn't
tell me this shit.
Alright, well, I'll tell you with the next one.
I was going to feed her carrots. The woman asks Billy Drago what he means to do if he finds Komomo. So she heard the conversation with the little person, and apparently she knows Komomo, because she talks to her. She talks about her as if she knows her. And Billy Drago says, "Oh,
I'm gonna hug her and kiss her and squeeze her so tight in the name of George."
It's almost exactly what he says, though. But,
smooches. Smooches!
And she says, "Poor Komomo."
Poor Komomo.
Poor Komomo. Not sure if she's talking about the idea of being smooched by Billy Drago, or about what she's about to say.
Oh, you're not into Billy Drago? I guess I should put that lady away.
You had a lady that looked like Billy Drago?
I had Billy Drago.
You said he was dead.
That was a cover story. Billy Drago, Secret Slut, coming to NBC this fall.
Me so horny.
I need it. I need cock.
Oh, Billy Drago. Your desperate need for cock knows no bounds. At this point, she says, poor Komomo, and she tells Billy Drago, Komomo is dead. She hung herself. And at this point, it's not clear, because she never says anything about Komomo that we don't already know about, aside from things that happened to her, but she doesn't say anything about her personality that Billy Drago wouldn't already have some sort of internal bias towards.
Yes.
So it's not clear if anything that happens in the story aside from a few details that are confirmed, happens to Komomo, or if this is all a giant troll from this character. Because we know from the, oh no, look at the lost soul behind you. She's kind of a prankster.
Yeah.
She's got a twisted sense of humor. And it's also a bit of a twist ending at the end, but still.
Just going on the cliche of how these Rashomon... Well, with Rashomon, there's no clear...
Answer.
But with... I assume, again, I have not seen it.
Okay.
Or read the story.
Right.
These kind of... Because this isn't just a Rashomon story. Other people have done this thing where it's like, I'm telling you a lie. I'm still telling you a lie. All right, here's the truth.
Sure, Unusual Suspects is a big example.
The cliche is that the final thing you're told is the truth.
Right.
That's what you go with. But again, it's also the unreliable narrator. Is anything true?
Right.
It's... Eventually, she, I guess, our supposition is she has no reason to lie.
Sure. But she still lies for a majority of the film.
Yeah.
And she had no reason to at that point either.
True.
So all I'm saying is that she's a bit of a prankster. She's a bit of a funny one.
I guess I just believe in the strength of the human spirit.
Okay, that's bullshit.
You know that I think that people are good.
Just inherently.
Just off the fucking cuff.
There's a pure light of goodness in every human being. Anyway, so the girl says that Komomo did hang herself and that it was a year ago because she couldn't stand to wait for her great love any longer. And Billy Drago does not take this well. As we have been imitating throughout this episode so far. God damn it!
God. Damn!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's freaking out.
My note? Maybe Billy Drago isn't the best actor.
No.
Entertaining as fuck to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Almost this entire exchange, by the way, is done in like one take, one shot.
Yeah.
So all of his reactions are immediate. It's not they didn't cut around it. There was no looking for the best take.
Yeah,
this is just this full uncut Billy Drago.
Mike knew to just let Billy Drago go. Billy Drago is Ronco Wheel. You set it and you forget it.
Billy's about to storm out, and this is where the line that we referred to earlier comes in. The girl tells him, "You can't leave. We're not in the human world. Only demons and horrors are outside." Which is also somewhat foreshadowing for the ending.
Now, do you remember how you were feeling up to this point?
Up to this point, I was engaged, certainly. It's very well made, as we've said many times. I was laughing my ass off at Billy Drago, but I was enjoying him, because he's very entertaining. And I was nervous. I was a little nervous because of the dead body from earlier. And I was like, where else is this going to go? And I knew what Mike's reputation was, as a fucked up dude. But I had this sort of general assumption that whatever it was, it's probably not that bad. I could handle it. Because, hubris.
Our poor little Icarus.
Yes, flying too close to the very gross sun. So she tries to calm him down by asking him what he loved about Komomo, to which he responds, so many things, so many things, so many things, so many things. And then he flops over and says, I suppose she reminded me of my baby sister.
I don't know what the opposite of a red flag is. But whatever you call it, it's that.
The opposite of a red flag?
You want a man who tells you remind him of his baby sister.
Yeah. Sure. I wrote down, yikes. And then he clarifies, my dead baby sister.
Bonus points. Marry this man.
If I've learned anything,
propose to him.
If I've learned anything from the plot of Vertigo, this is green light all the way.
Yeah.
Green light all the way. So Billy lies down and almost immediately conks out. We fade back.
He's had a big day.
He's had a big day. He's had a lot on his plate. He wakes up and he finds that she's still awake, fanning him because it's a hot day. He's about to fall back to sleep. Oh, well, he looks up at the girl first.
Just the connection of it being hot.
Yeah.
Maybe wondering how I could mesh this up and do the right thing.
There are just a lot of different races of prostitutes.
Billy Drago grabs a trash can, says, "Tell me the truth!" Throws it through a shoji panel.
Hey, why aren't there any American prostitutes on this wall?
And Komomo does get strangled, much like Radio Raheem.
That's very true. Komomo's what sets off the whole thing. But, so Billy's lying down. He looks up over the girl's shoulder and sees what appears to be the Grudge. Or at least what I know of the Grudge.
I didn't notice this part.
Over her shoulder. You didn't notice it? It's
no.
a very... It's essentially a jump scare, but there's no... So, like, you would be forgiven for completely not noticing it. But he looks over her shoulder and he sees what appears to be, like, the Grudge. It's a Japanese actress doing that Japanese ghost face that they tend to make in those movies.
Okay.
He blinks, it cuts back to it, she looks over her shoulder, there's nothing there.
Could it have been his little sister? Because we see her at
the
end.
It could have been his little sister. It did not look like that to me.
Okay.
But I don't know. It could have been. And again, I could not find a lot of behind-the-scenes info about what was behind the decisions made in this film. He says maybe it was too much sake.
Did we pass the wonderful, beautiful shot of a bare tree against the gray sky with the ribbons in it?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
That appears when she says that she hanged herself and that they buried her.
We see this tree multiple times.
Yeah.
And it's, again, Mike is clearly a skilled filmmaker, and it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice shot.
There's, for as much as this movie is about the horrors of flesh,
yeah,
even though it's not really a body horror movie, it's a torture movie.
It's a torture porn, yeah.
But it's again, the horrors of flesh. There's a lot of beautiful framing and shot composition, and
yeah,
he knows what he's doing.
He knows what
obviously.
he's doing. He's a good filmmaker, which is, just makes the horrible bits more horrible because he knows how to show it, and it's very affecting.
Also, at one point, I don't know if we passed this either, Christopher mentions that he's a journalist.
He asks her for a bedtime story,
right?
And she says, "Oh, people don't usually want to talk to prostitutes. They just want to hear." She keeps using the word whore, but that makes me uncomfortable to say, so I just keep saying prostitute.
Yeah.
But people don't usually want to hear our stories, and he's like, I'm a journalist. Listening to people's stories is what I do, and even if I didn't, I'd want to know yours, because, he got a fucked up face.
Billy Drago
Yeah.
actually started off as a journalist.
Did he really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's fun.
And then he got into radio, and through radio, he got into theater and acting.
Well, good for him. Good for him. I'm good. Billy Drago's had an interesting life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now he's working at your brothel.
Yeah. Still interesting, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Sorry it's not as interesting as your workplace.
No, very interesting. It's a new adventure for him.
Speaking of which, let's bring out the next round of...
you got more.
Of employees, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now, the first one is a cardboard cutout of Lara Croft promoting Tomb Raider 3.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you, ma'am.
Nice to meet you too, Billy.
Oh, you've been working on your ventriloquism.
That was her talking.
Oh, sorry.
She's possessed by the ghost of Anastasia, the Russian princess.
Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe I should have led with that.
Maybe you should have led with that.
Yeah, I can see the fire in your eyes.
Yeah.
But watch out. Because number 2, live from hell, comics legend Stan Lee.
Oh, man. Hi, Stanley.
Hello! Excelsior! Are you ready to get fucked, true believer? Or you can fuck me!
Man, I'll get to be in the same class as Jack Kirby.
I ejaculate maggots!
Somehow I'm not surprised, Stan. Now, who's number 3?
And the third choice is an Arby's. That I'm a franchisee for.
You just have an Arby's?
Yeah! If you take one of my other employees to the Arby's, you also have to pay for both. And let me tell you, brother, a lot of these ladies are hungry for Arby's.
Oh, I have $12,000 to spare. I was going to invest
$18,000 with Lola.
Oh.
Plus damages from the lawsuit impending.
I'm not paying for that shit.
Well, we'll see in court.
But I have a lot of money left over. I was going to invest in my future, but I think the best way for me to spend my time is to go on a date with Anastasia in the body of a cardboard cutout of Lara Croft at a goddamn Arby. This is some really stupid shit right here.
Gotta be honest with you. Really thought you were gonna choose Stanley. Wasn't prepared for this. But, let's go to Arby's.
Let's go to Arby's.
Okay.
What would you like to eat, Anastasia?
I would like 10 big beef and cheddars. Please pick them up with your very strong arms, Billy.
Well, here you go, Your Highness.
I was shot by communists.
Oh, dear. I thought that you got away from the communists. That's what I learned from watching that historical documentary, Anastasia.
Do you like my cardboard body, Billy?
It's pretty nice. I mean,
I would take off my clothes, but it's a painting.
Oh, this is a painted cardboard cutout.
Kiss me. Kiss me in the Arby's, Billy. In front of everybody.
Oh, Anastasia.
Propose to me, Billy.
Anastasia.
Take me away from this life.
Anastasia. Anastasia Jolie.
That is not my name, and now I'm offended.
Oh, no.
I charge you double. Goodbye.
Oh, no.
And I take the cardboard cutout off on a dolly, and you owe me now $24,000, I believe.
Oh, no. And I got so carried away, I was so in love with Anastasia Jolie.
Don't call her that again. It's very insulting. She's a person.
Yeah, but
technically she's a ghost and a thing. But you combine those two things together and you have a person.
Sure. Is this our weirdest episode?
It's our dumbest.
Alright. So, yeah. Billy Drago.
I'm going to assume this is a reaction to the extreme. I'm helping you through your trauma.
I think you are. I think so. Billy Drago asks to hear the girl's story. So the girl tells him she had a sickly father and a midwife mother who were very poor, but they loved each other so much. Mm-hmm. They lived in a little village, and she was born with her deformity. But even though she didn't have a lot of friends, she had one Buddhist monk with a speech impediment who was friends with her and taught her about the concepts of heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm. As all friends should.
Right, yeah.
That's the basis of our friendship.
Yeah.
We just tell each other facts about heaven and hell.
That's entirely correct. When the microphone is not on, we just recite Dante's Inferno to each other.
Fact.
Yeah.
Heaven only has DSL. It does not have Wi-Fi.
Fact. Hell is for children.
I believe that. Children are dicks.
They are. They're little monsters. We just grew closer while you were listening to that. So anyway, her father died from his disease.
He walked into a river.
He walked into a river. He didn't want to be
river suicide.
Didn't want to be a bother anymore, he said.
Just let the stream take me away.
And he royally fucks it up, too, because in the next cut, he's just lying there in the middle of the river, right in front of their house. He didn't get carried away or anything, so they still had to deal with the body.
Yeah.
As soon as the
This is bigger than the ones we usually deal with.
So as soon as the dad dies, the mom decides, oh, well, even though the dad was concentrating on our finances and our situation hasn't really changed at all, I suddenly can't financially take care of you. So I'm going to sell you into sex slavery.
That was a little... That should have been a tip-off, because it's like... Dad didn't seem like a big earner.
No, yeah.
Dad was mostly bedridden, coughing up blood.
Just constantly. Like, the mom was the only one who was working, and even then... she makes a point of saying she only worked when she wasn't taking care of Dad.
Yeah, fucking coffee pops over there.
Coffee pops. She was sold into slavery. She was brought to the brothel. And the only bright spot in her life was Komomo. Sweet, innocent, pure, flawless Komomo. Mm-hmm. Komomo would share her food with her when she was being punished.
Because she couldn't earn money because of her
deformity. Yep. And she was constantly... Komomo was constantly mocked by the other prostitutes because she was the prettiest of them all and therefore got the most customers, and the other prostitutes were jealous because that's how prostitution works.
Komomo would also say things about how she was like a princess.
Yes. And how she had a love that was going to take her away from all this, and everybody just wanted her to shut up so bad.
You couldn't get a man as dreamy as Billy Drago.
Yeah, exactly.
Who do you think the modern-day Billy Drago is? Timothy Oliphant?
I think that's exactly correct. Little known fact, Billy Drago was almost the original pick for Kyle MacLachlan's part in the original Dune, but he was not chosen because David Lynch decided he was too perfect for the part.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And that's why Timothée Chalamet has the part now, because he's the new...
When I think of the Maudit,
yes,
I think of Billy Drago.
When I think of heaven, I imagine Billy Drago. Just a lot of Billy Dragos there.
That's what I assume angels are.
Billy Dragos?
Billy Dragos.
That would have been very distressing for Mary. Billy Drago shows up. It's just like, you're gonna have a child!
Lo unto this virgin... A child is born!
Based on that impression, I think the modern Billy Drago was Christian Slater. This lady who's in charge of all the
madam.
The madam. She has a jade ring that is highlighted in a close-up earlier in the film. And the jade ring is stolen from her. And so she comes in and she starts questioning everybody, trying to figure out who took it. And it turns out some hair sticks were found at the scene of the crime that are Komomo's. And one of the girls says, of course, Komomo always liked that jade ring. So the implication is that the other prostitutes obviously framed her for this. In the background, you hear a woman going, no, she never said that she wanted that. Stop lying. Standing up for her friend. They decide to make her talk. Because Komomo is, of course, saying, I didn't steal it, I'm pure as the driven snow. Mm-hmm. So they take her up to an attic, they tie her up, and they start torturing her in a way so that they won't affect her looks and therefore not affect the profits that they make off of her, assuming that she lives through this.
Which I disagree with, because I think putting all the shit into her gums and under her fingernails is gonna kind of like...
Yes. So, how much do we want to go into this?
We'll just summarize it.
Okay.
Komomo is burned under her armpits with incense.
Yep.
She has needles inserted under every single one of her fingernails.
Yes.
And also into her gums.
Yes.
She's strung upside down.
Yes. And she pees on herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was piss or if it was something else. I assumed it was piss, but it was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah. It was a lot.
And after when they're done, they don't take anything out.
No, they just
so
leave
when
her.
Komomo is in her room, she still has everything in her gums and under her fingernails.
She's just lying there with everything. And she's still tied up, too.
Yes.
What affected me, because, like, we cut back to post-torture Komomo several times. And while it is disturbing, is not. It was not as disturbing for me as the initial insert,
Act.
because the scene is shot in a way where every time you feel like it could reach a natural conclusion, and we could have the thing that happens in American movies so often where we cut away and we just hear someone screaming in the background. Every time you feel like that's about to happen, it just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
It is, at the end of the day, not a very long scene. It
No,
feels
it's not.
much longer than you think it is, than it actually is when you're watching it. But the meticulous nature with which the head torturer, who again is apparently, according to Amazon, played by the author of the original story, takes each needle, looks at it, smiles, looks at the finger, and drives it very slowly in. Takes a needle, looks at it, drives it very slowly in. Every single one of it's literally like a circus freak show where you have the people who put the staples in their face or something like that. You have the performer holding it up to the audience, in this case, holding the needle up to the camera, and then turning it around and inserting it. This is where I already had realized that I was probably in over my head earlier, but this is where I was like, this is,
Well, and I don't know that this is really in the ranks of bravery, but kudos to you for sticking it out.
Thank you. I mean, it's clearly not the same level of bravery as someone, who's in actual danger.
Yes.
But it was a personal victory for me to get through it and not, turn it off. So, yeah, it's a small victory, but still. Yeah, so she gets tortured a lot. Anyway, so she's devoid of hope, and she's like, oh, Billy Drago will never come back for me. And she somehow, despite being tied up and having needles in her fingers, which I have to imagine hurts your ability to grip things, hangs herself. And is discovered by woman as she comes up to sneak her food to repay the debt of her giving her food earlier in the episode. Talking about how the torture scene just keeps going and keeps showing you every single thing that happens, I wrote a kind of a nasty note here. It said, if Miike had directed Reanimator, instead of... There's an infamous scene in Reanimator that's not as bad as people remember it, where a severed head being held by its own body is held over the body of a naked Barbara Crampton, and he starts licking her all over, and then he's just about to go down on her when Herbert West enters the scene and starts an argument with the decapitated head about this being beneath him, because Herbert West is an asshole. And it's been commented by other people in the past that that's the exact right place to stop that scene.
Yeah.
It's right before it gets truly horrible. And I wrote, if Miike had directed Reanimator, that head would have eaten out Barbara Crampton for 2 hours.
He would have literally eaten her.
He would have literally started eating her, like, fully, and she would have just been... And we would have watched all of it.
Yeah.
We cut back to Billy, who is definitely not sleepy anymore.
No.
He is wide awake and very upset. And he can somehow tell, probably via the plot holes we pointed out earlier, that woman is lying to him. She is not telling him the truth. And he needs to know the truth.
He needs to know.
He needs
truth.
And she says, why don't people just accept happy lies? People don't really want to know the truth. They say that, but they don't. And he says, no, I really need to know the truth. And she says, oh, well, in that case, I killed Komomo. If you really want to know. Sure.
Well, fuck it. It was me.
It was me. And we cut back to the same scene as before, but in this time, instead of discovering her body already hung, she feeds Komomo some food, like baby bird style, by chewing it up and spitting it in.
I think it's water. She puts some water in her mouth and sort of snowballs it into her mouth over the fucking needles.
Yeah, because Komomo can't close her mouth.
Which is...
Well, the needles.
Even with the grotesquerie of all the needles coming out of her gums, like getting a little tangled in her hair, this image of a woman letting the water drip from her mouth into the mouth of another is very striking. That's an incredible image.
It is a striking image, I will admit that. This is a lot of the images in this episode, actually. She then takes the rope that's tied her up, loops it around her neck, and just garrots, is that the term?
Mm-hmm.
Garrots her to death while she's silently screaming because she's choking.
Yeah.
With all the needles soaking out. Another very striking image.
Yes.
Of her trying to get her voice out while being strangled to death by this Two-Face woman. When asked why she did that, woman says all the nice things about Komomo were true, and Komomo considered her, woman, her best friend. So being killed by a best friend while she was being the woman that she trusted most, while in that pitiful of a state, was the only way that she could make sure that Komomo would make it into heaven.
It was the most pure way for her to die.
Right. And it was the only decision that she's ever made of her own accord without any input from anybody else. Right, sis? There's a music cue there, and Billy Drago turns around and says, "Wait a second, you're lying still! You're still lying!" And she says, "You're right." And then we get the final story. Turns out the entire backstory we were just given was a complete fabrication. Her father and mother were homeless people.
Yes.
They settled down in some hovel somewhere that they found that was abandoned. The mother was not a midwife, but was, one could say, the opposite.
Yes.
The town abortionist. The crazy lady on the outskirts of town that the village girls, when they got in trouble, would come out and get an abortion from.
Which is, again, as grim and as dark as that is, it's very clever, the inversion there.
Oh, yeah. It is a clever twist. And once again, we see all of it.
Yes.
We see every step of the abortion process. The only thing that we are spared is a close-up of a bloody vagina
yes.
with a baby being pulled out of it. But we see nearly everything else.
I want to briefly talk about the weird birth rope.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Whenever a woman is giving birth, or also apparently receiving an abortion,
yes,
she is pulling herself up on a rope.
Yeah.
I have no clue what that is. I should have looked into it.
Yeah, I should have looked into it too. I assumed it was a cultural thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But this is when the note that I mentioned earlier where I said there's a fup sound effect that made me laugh. We see the main character's woman's birth. And when so the mother is pulling herself up by this rope and her legs open, and the baby comes out, and there is the most hilarious foop sound effect when the baby comes out. And we then see her just throw the baby in the river. Why she didn't perform a self-abortion, I'm not sure. Maybe that's not a thing. I don't know how abortions work, honestly.
I'm a little unclear as well.
It's not exactly a pleasant subject to spend an afternoon reading about.
It's also, and this doesn't justify our ignorance, but also something we don't need to worry about.
It's true. Yeah.
The rope, it seems to be called a birth support rope.
It's a very straightforward name. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't find any,
But it's a real thing.
Yeah, apparently I'm trying to find references to, it being used in Japan, but
okay.
I'm not really getting much of anything. But it's a fascinating detail.
It is a fascinating, and it's also like an extra level of uncomfort.
We're also shown in the beginning that the woman pulling herself up on the rope was part of the birthing procedure when we were told that her mother was a midwife.
Yeah.
So when we see it again at the end, we assume she's giving birth again, but now maybe it's part of the abortion process.
Right, yeah. Her father was a drunk asshole. He would beat her mother mercilessly. She does have a friend who is a monk, and he did have a speech impediment. But the reason why he told her about hell and heaven was because girls go to hell when they don't follow the orders of monks.
Yeah,
and he rapes her.
Here, I was so excited that weird monk was back.
Oh, yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, yeah, he's back! And then I went, oh no!
And then he starts fingering a little girl.
Then he starts molesting a child.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And that's on screen, too. It turns out... And then the father rapes her, too.
Yes.
He beats the mother and throws her out of the house.
And the beatings...
Oh, my God.
Were, for me, worse than the torture.
I almost agree with you. Like, the torture is slower,
yes.
which makes it last longer. But the beating... Because you know so many women have gone through this.
Yes.
That's the thing.
I think that was the thing for me, because it's like... Yeah, the torture, I know, like... Torture porn, like, yeah, this is a thing that... This is part of the genre, but...
Right, yeah.
This almost felt gratuitous for how real it was.
And how long it goes on for.
Yeah,
Again,
and
the torture.
how consistently.
Yeah. And it's like at least 2 longer than you feel that is necessary scenes, but again, not very long in the grand scheme of things. Scenes of just this drunk fucker beating the shit out of this woman and throwing her out of his damn house. And then he goes back in, he looks at his daughter, and he's like, yeah, why not? And rapes the fuck out of her. That is mercifully held off screen. Apparently we found the line.
Yes.
For Mike is underage child rape with a dick. Fingering, that's fine, but dick rape, that's not
I
okay.
didn't notice the fingering. I might have been taking a note at the moment.
Okay, it doesn't show penetration. This is not pornography. But he stands up to her, he reaches back, and the little girl goes like, okay. It's okay.
I think I was taking my oh no note at the time.
It's pretty vile.
Yeah.
But oh no.
Yeah. No, I literally just wrote oh no in all caps.
And again, you don't make notes like that. That's me.
Yeah.
That's my job. And then it turns out, just after the rape is revealed, that we've secretly been watching Mike's remake of the horror classic Basket Case this whole time. Because...
Oh, we really skimmed over how many fucking aborted feet. I know we mentioned it earlier.
Okay, yeah.
You see so many.
You see so many fetuses.
Aborted fetuses.
Not only do they show an entire abortion, but like so many fetuses.
After every procedure, and we're not shown a lot, but we're shown this ritual after. In a wooden bucket, they go out into the stream
full of not just the fetus, but all of the afterbirth and all of that. Oh, I feel sick just talking about it.
With the umbilical cord.
Oh my god!
And every time they stand about ankle deep, they pause, and then they very
deliberately.
I almost saw it as a careless thing, like with no regard, like just
that's what I meant.
Tossed it into the stream and walked away.
Yeah.
And we see so many. And they're rendered, at least what I assume is very realistically.
They look really well. They look really good in that they look awful.
Yes. And there is a shot of an aborted fetus going downstream and slowly tumbling.
Oh, God.
And it's shot so... I'm hesitant to say beautifully. But there is a lot of tender loving care in this shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this unsettling, fascinating image that the grotesquerie works with how beautifully it's being shot.
I'm going to use the quote that I saved from my friend who recommended this to me again. He described this episode as a non-stop deluge of unpleasantness, almost no plot, arguably no point.
Yeah. Yeah, what the fuck is the point? Like,
There's no point. There's no point.
Aside from just the torture of every single character.
Yeah, it's just hey,
like
look at this horribleness.
It's like Mike created a hell for characters that he created solely. He didn't create it. This was based off of this was other screenwriters.
Either a traditional story or a novel. We're not sure.
But it's like Mike just constructed a hell for these characters.
Yeah. No, this is hell. This is actual hell. But I got a little bit worked up there.
Getting back to what you were saying.
Yeah. So the girl, the woman, has a conjoined twin growing out of her head.
Parasitic twin.
A parasitic twin growing out of her head that is that is just 2 eyes, a couple fingers, and a mouth with a top line of teeth that digs into her head every time it closes its mouth.
And she's like a hand.
It's like a hand.
She's like the hamburger helper mascot.
Oh my god, that's exactly what it is.
If she were conjoined to someone's scalp.
Yes, and you were not pleased with this effect?
I fucking hated it.
Oh, okay.
I fucking loathed it.
Really?
It's so goddamn goofy. It looks like something out of a shitty 80s, like, real schlock C-grade movie.
Like Basket Case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I thought it was a very well realized effect, personally. And also, I was just so... because, again, you and I are not affected by horror the same way.
Yes.
And especially not this one. So I feel like maybe I was in it too much to call bullshit, maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's no shame in being affected by a film.
Sure, yeah. And so, to me, I was just sort of like, well, here's another piece of gross shit I have to deal with. I thought it was a very well-realized effect. It is, as much as I keep referring to Basket Case, it is definitely a better effect than Basket Case. Basket Case, the effect in that movie is just a flesh-colored turd with arms.
But in the instance of something like Basket Case...
Basket Case is supposed to be somewhat funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's part of the charm of the movie.
Right.
This is, again, the horrors of flesh, an actual hell for these characters.
Yes.
It's just too goofy for me. It just felt like...
There is a moment where it went over the line for me a little bit from... And again, maybe it's just because I've watched so many Guillermo del Toro films and I'm used to feeling empathy for weird monsters. There's a moment where we see woman as a little girl with her sis, as she calls her parasitic twin on her head, sitting there hanging out, and the parasitic twin is singing.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where, at the first time I watched it, I was like, should I feel empathy for this monster? And then the second time I watched it, it was like, this is kind of going over a line into some very silly territory here.
Yes.
Yeah. So
now,
I appreciate that.
The singing I did appreciate. That's a nice character building moment.
Yeah.
But...
Because the rest of the time, the little thing only goes...
Yeah, anytime
like a
I had
gremlin.
to see the fucking hamburger helper snaggletooth fucking hand monster, I was like, this is goofy as shit. And it's undercutting all the
build-up.
The visceral horror that we've experienced.
Right. So it turns out the reason why she has a parasitic twin is because her mother and her father were siblings. And that's why they were homeless, because they were thrown out of their village for their sins.
Which I feel is discrimination.
You're not about to defend.
I'm gonna do a march.
Oh, God. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. I'm not joining you on that march.
Dada and Mama, justice. 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 I'm marching for 2 fictional characters that nobody knows who the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, brother and
They're
sister
brother and
sex.
sister, they should be allowed to fuck. They're not even real, let them vote.
Remember? Anyway, after she was raped, the little twin started telling her,
Kill your daddy, kill your daddy.
So she goes out with a hammer and beats him to death. Shows him the twin, which apparently he didn't know existed. He dies in the river.
Yeah.
Just like he did in the flashback. There was that. So what this is coming from, this is not just a weird thing that came out of Mike's mind, or the author's mind. This is a creature, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, I'm sorry. Futakuchi Onna. At the top of the...
Yeah, you got it. Futakuchi Onna.
Futakuchi Onna. Which is essentially just a woman with 2 mouths. The original myth, this is from Wikipedia, the second mouth often mumbles spiteful and threatening things to the woman and demands food.
Talk about a second mouth to feed.
No, literally, that's the idea. If it is not fed, it can screech obscenely because and cause the woman tremendous pain, which we do see in the episode. The woman's hair begins to move like a pair of serpents, allowing the mouth to help itself to the woman's meals, while no food passes through her normal lips.
So just a fucking tapeworm.
It's just a fucking tapeworm. The main myth that this comes from, the second mouth is always revealed as the twist ending in all the stories involving this creature, including this one. And the original story was there's a skinflint who didn't want to pay for a wife, So he finds a woman in a village who he hears never eats anything, and he marries her because he doesn't have to pay to feed her, only himself. But he finds that all of his food is going away. So one day, he pretends to go to work, but he secretly hides. And while his wife is doing the housework, the back of her head splits open with a mouth, and her hair grabs all the food in the house and throws it into that mouth.
Japan's traditional stories,
Yeah.
especially their ghost stories, are so much better than anything we have.
They're pretty great.
Imagine just that being part of your fucking culture. Just like goddamn hair grabbing shit so your head mouth can eat.
Right. Instead of Hansel and Gretel, that's what you get.
I mean, Hansel and Gretel's still pretty gnarly.
It's pretty gnarly, but come on.
But it's still not a hair demon.
It's not a hair
mouth demon.
A hair mouth demon, yeah.
But
And
back in the real world.
The
present.
So in the present, in the episode, the woman opens the hand on the side of her head, not without considerable pain, by the way, and opens up Sis to show her hair becomes completely disheveled out of its geisha hairstyle that she had going throughout most of the episode. The Sis is the one who coveted the jade ring.
Yep.
She forced her to steal it again by screeching, and this Sis is not hungry for food like most of these creatures are.
She wants things.
She wants things. She wanted the pretties.
Much like Madonna, she's a material girl.
She is a material girl. But it was still her, the woman, who chose to blame Komomo and kill her.
And yes.
And because, again, she wanted her to get into heaven. Mm-hmm. Because she knew already that she was damned to hell.
So you believe the heaven aspect of it? You don't think she just wanted to kill her because she's a fucking crazy handhead lady?
I don't know, and I don't really care. But that is the reason that she gives.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think I am more confused about what happens next than anything else in the movie.
Yeah.
So Sis starts talking in Komomo's voice and telling Billy Drago that he didn't come in time for her, but it's okay because he wouldn't have been good for Komomo anyway, because she knows his secret. That baby kid sister he was talking about, he killed her!
Yeah. It's also implied that he might have molested her as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, at least they did something that he told her not to tell about.
Yeah.
And then he killed her anyway. So it might be that he molested her. That's definitely the direction this episode would go in.
It might be that he ran a Ponzi scheme.
It might be that he ran a Ponzi, that he was selling LuLaRoe on the side.
Yeah.
And he didn't want his parents to know. But it's Mike, so yeah, he definitely raped her.
Yeah, so I was confused about this as well. I wasn't sure if the hand sis was like channeling these people.
I don't fucking know.
Or if she was just... Because how else would she know about the sister?
At first, maybe I thought with her being closer to the dead than the living, maybe it is a channeling thing.
Yeah.
Maybe she can channel spirits through there. Or maybe she's a demon and she's just fucking with people like an Evil Dead monster.
Yeah. Or maybe she's just playing mind games somehow. Maybe she's playing 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 6-dimensional chess.
Right. And the reveal about Billy Drago's character doesn't change anything that happened earlier in the episode.
Not really.
It doesn't really affect anything.
I wasn't like, this man is a paragon of society.
Right. I mean, he doesn't do anything wrong, really, other than, like...
his acting.
Exactly. But yeah, so as I noted down, it's implied he may have assaulted her. Whatever.
Okay. Wow, you've come a long way.
At that point in the episode, yes. Billy pulls out a gun and he shoots her in the chest. He aims for the heart, Ramon, and no effect.
My healing factor will overcome your bullets.
At which point I was saying, aim for the little head thing. Aim for Sis.
And he did. He heard you.
He heard me, and he aimed for the head. He shoots her, and apparently he hits, but he hits the center of the forehead, and she does this back bend thing, which was pretty legit, and comes back up. But now, she's Komomo!
Yeah.
Happy ending! Lovers reunited! She comes back up and she's Komomo. What?
I don't understand the
either. I don't get...
I don't know.
I don't have no idea. And it gets weirder because first she reaches up to the hole in the back of her head that he's made, and pulls out some of her brains and literally holds them up to the camera. Again, this is just Takashi Miike taking us through a horror show, so in probably the worst effect in the movie, she holds the brains up to the camera, and then she says, "I waited for you," and falls over dead. Smash cut to Billy Drago's in jail for her murder.
Oh no!
So it wasn't an illusion, because there was a body for the police to find.
Well, yeah.
And he's in jail now.
Well, no matter whether it was Komomo or not, he murdered somebody, whether it was woman or Komomo.
Yeah, but
there was somebody there. I don't think he hallucinated the whole thing.
What the fuck? So you think maybe she turned into Komomo just to fuck with him and then lay there pretending to be dead?
Or maybe it was madness on his part, where it was him seeing Komomo.
Sure.
Like his guilt, like, I didn't come back soon enough, so I killed her. Thus, I'm symbolically killing her here.
And this is where I say that, like Jeepers Creepers, nothing happens in this episode for a reason.
I'd say this is the only part where that applies to.
Okay. I would argue that it kind of pervades the entire thing.
I mean, it's ultimately a pointless exercise. Billy Drago doesn't learn a lesson. We're not. There's no moral.
We don't learn a lesson.
There's aside from watching human misery.
Yeah,
it's
the equivalent of like running up to your mom with a handful of bugs and just being like, "Hey, look at this, mom." Like that's what the whole thing is. So Komomo is dead again. Sorry, go ahead.
But to be fair,
yeah,
one, it looks fucking great.
Oh yeah, it's very well made,
and it's a fucking hour-long short film for Showtime.
Yeah. Which Showtime didn't want.
Yeah.
And Billy's sent to prison for her murder. There are a couple of guards who are very gung-ho about making his life miserable. He's given some food and a bucket of water, but when he looks into the bucket of water, he sees a fetus.
Uh-oh.
Along with a bunch of blood and viscera in the bucket, and he decides to raise it and love it as his own.
Is this a fetus I see before me?
Billy Drago's version of Macbeth was also never aired for very similar reasons.
I'd watch it. I'd watch it 100 times.
So he picks up the bucket and he holds it tight to him and he starts cooing and singing over it. And meanwhile, we see beside him, I assume, the ghosts of his
Komomo.
Sister and Komomo. Komomo still has her pinwheel. She's blowing into it. Standing beside him. Not looking at him, just sort of hanging out.
Yeah.
Just sort of hanging out.
I assume he's haunted by the people he killed, whether inadvertently, although woman is not there, so...
Apparently he didn't kill her.
I don't...
Well, we know he didn't kill her because then, at the end of the credits, the credits fade into woman sitting in the same position she was next to him as when he woke up for that one time, fanning an empty spot where he used to be. And then she turns to the camera, smiles, and shrugs, as if to say, I don't know what the fuck just happened either.
Hold on. Was that actually a thing?
That's actually a thing.
I didn't know there was anything
You
after
didn't
the
stay
credits.
to the end of the credits?
No, why the fuck would I?
Yeah, no, that happens.
It's a goddamn television show.
Yeah, at the end, there's a post-credit scene in this particular television episode.
Well, then what the fuck does that mean?
And she's still got, like, part of her face fucked up, but she's, like, in her perfect makeup again and everything. She's perfectly put together. She just looks up. She looks directly into camera. She smiles. She shrugs slightly. And then we fade out.
Sort of like Ferris Bueller. It's like, go home.
Yes.
Get out of here, you crazy kids.
And I wrote, she's saying, fuck you, audience. You make sense of this shit.
Yeah. I don't have answers.
That's Imprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's left its imprint on me.
Well, we're running along. Otherwise, we would have a third round of pick a prostitute.
Yeah, I laughed way too hard during the second round. Most of this recording is just me losing my goddamn mind for one reason or another.
But next week we're doing cigarette burns. I figured since we're doing one Masters of Horror, we might as well do the other.
Sure.
So look forward to that.
I can't wait. I will love cigarette burns.
See you next time.
See you next time.